a playlist original.
The Roots of the Science podcast with your girl and with an
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Root of the Science podcast with your girl and with an E. If you are new here, welcome to the show. It's so exciting to have new listeners tune into the show. And also for the fans of the show, the regulars, thank you so much. Now listen, something amazing happened this week. The podcast was awarded an award for the Association of African Podcasters and Voiceover Artists, and we were awarded in the science and technology category. So yay, you are officially listening to an award-winning podcast. Man, this wouldn't have been possible without every single person who tunes in and listens and shares. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And of course, to all the guests who've come and gone on this episode, on the show, this would not have been possible without you. As a reminder, always that you can follow the podcast on your various social media platforms. Due to LinkedIn, we reached over 600 followers there recently. So make sure that you join the company page, The Root of the Science Podcast. It's the same name on Facebook. On Instagram and Twitter, we are at The Root of the Sci Pod. Make sure to follow. And of course, remember to put on your notifications for wherever you listen to your podcast, be it Spotify, Apple, Google, or anywhere else, so that you are the first person to hear it when it goes live. Now, let's get into today's episode. My guest today is a software engineer, Ngoni Mujuru, a Zimbabwean currently based in South Africa. In this episode, we learn his journey into the science field, talking about how his time in university helped birth his tech startup he co-founded called EaziCode, code tutoring company passionate about software development, especially for children. Ngoni touches on the vision of the startup and the lessons learned from the successes and the failures of his journey so far. Tune in as we hear about all of this and so much more. Let's go. Hi, Ngoni. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Anne. Thanks for having me here.
It is an absolute pleasure to have you, and I'm pretty excited to hear about you and everything that you do. So let's get the formalities out of the way. Who is Ngoni? Where are you currently from? Where are you based? And just short and sweet, what do you do?
All right. Yeah. So I'm Ngoni. I'm Zimbabwean, currently based in Cape Town. I recently moved from Joburg. And I am a senior software engineer. I studied computer science at the University of Pretoria. And I've been working since then full time, and also have a tech startup called EaziCode that I found with some friends. And yeah, that's basically me in a nutshell.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Thank you so much for that brief intro. And obviously, we're going to get into more detail about all of the amazing things that we do. But before we do that, right, I'd like to get to know you away from the sciences, away from you being a founder and, being a coder, etc. So you mentioned that you love to read, mostly personal development books, So I'm curious, because I always love to ask this for people who love to read. If you had to write your own book, right? What type of theme, what genre would it be? And what would it be all about?
Okay, that's a good question. And it's a question I've actually asked myself before. Fun fact, I actually have an entire document somewhere on my computer about an outline of a book I want to write.
Oh, snap. So it's coming. This is me hinting at you to go back and look at it.
Which I grew up reading. I think it's just something I was encouraged to do from a young age, and I would read like fiction adventure books. But of late, I've been reading a lot of personal development books. And I think I've realized that they actually do really help you. I think remind you of some things that you might think you know, but you need to be reminded of, like things that can help you, like motivate yourself, help you stay positive, help you, I think, focus on your goals. But I think if I was to write a book, I'll probably be around the topic of, what they say, shooting your shot, like go for it.
Okay.
I'm a strong believer in that if you have an idea, right, don't just throw it away, like sit down, develop it. Everything that we see around us, right, the buildings, the companies, everything we see that just sort of offers an idea in someone's head. And then they flesh it out, they spend some time on it until it became a real product. So I think that's the kind of book I would write, because I think it's the kind of book I would actually enjoy reading. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's so fantastic. And I love that type of book, because I also am a firm believer of that, of like shooting your shot, sending that DM, trying. The worst thing that you could do is fail or like a no, but at least you would have tried. So please write that book.
No, I think
please write that
one
book.
of the first people to receive a draft then.
Yes, please. We helped you go back to it. And I mean, taking your own advice, like you said, it was an idea. So you have the idea, and now you just need to spend some time on it, look at it again, and then have the product. I mean, that's exactly what you said.
Definitely.
So please write the book. Well, we're putting you on the spot. I mean, this goes live. It's on the internet forever now, so we can have a reference like whenever it comes out that you said you were going to do it.
No pressure.
None whatsoever. No, but I believe you will. I think the little seed or that thing it's been reminded once again that it's something that you have to do.
Yeah, no, it's something I would love to do at some time, and I have noted it down somewhere. Now there's this too, so yeah, it's coming.
No, definitely. Okay, so before you write this book and before you were the person who you are, let's sort of backtrack to the beginning, right? To your genesis. You mentioned that you are from Zimbabwe, right? So I'm curious, were you always into science-related things in terms of where you are in your journey, or was this one of those things that just sort of happened and here you are?
So I think I was fascinated by science, but to get into the actual industry that I'm in, it actually happened a bit later in my childhood, if I can say. So when I was in primary school, I knew I loved maths. I loved the subject science. And then it did happen that when I was in grade 5, my dad bought us a computer at home, where we just played video games, and I was just very fascinated by how it worked. But I actually never at that age imagined that I would get into this industry, right? I just thought it was, wow, for people out there who then make all these amazing things that we then enjoy. And even in high school, I did, like in my A-levels, that's the advanced level, the 5th and 6th year of high school in Zim, I did the science subjects, maths, physics, and chemistry, but I wasn't very certain of what I actually wanted to do with that. It's things I did enjoy, and I knew I wanted to get in that direction, but I wasn't very certain of what I wanted to do. So how I actually ended up doing computer science is that after my final year of high school, I decided to take a gap year, like to take some time to actually think, like, what do I want to do with my life? And it's in that year where I met a friend. She had a blog. She was just blogging about art, and she wasn't happy with the platform she was using. It didn't allow her to be as creative as she wanted to. So I was like, hey, I've got some free time. Let me see if I can actually learn how to make websites. I can make a blog for you. So I started like just Googling on my phone. I didn't have like Wi-Fi at home, just Googling on my phone. What is a website?
Yeah.
What is HTML? I started actually like learning on that old computer back at home. And I think I built my very first website just in that way. And I was like so
Wow.
fascinated. I realized, okay, this is not out of this world. It's not that hard. And I discovered that's something that I really loved. And yeah, ultimately that's what led me into ending up studying computer science and becoming a software
Okay,
engineer.
that's so great.
Yeah.
Mm. Wow. So like, just fiddling and, just trying something and realizing that, oh my goodness, I can actually do it. I think it's such a positive affirmation to kind of steer you into a good direction, right?
Yeah, and I also realized the power of like the internet, hey, because I just thought it was something that was out there and something I'd never get into. Because I'd even follow tech companies, watch their videos, but I just never imagined that I would actually end up in this space. So yeah, it's I think it just goes to show like how well if you're interested in something, the internet, there's so much you can learn from the internet.
I mean, now everybody says that you can learn anything from YouTube. So
Yeah.
yeah. They say, okay, so Ngoni, you built this wonderful website for your friend, and you're like, I'm seeing now that obviously the bug has bitten. Did you see what I did there?
We see you.
Yeah, that was such a corny dad joke. Oh my goodness. Anyway, like I was saying, the bug has bitten, and so where to from now, like in varsity wise? What did you do in varsity? You studied, where did you study? Just take us along that like post high school academic journey.
Okay. So I studied at the University of Victoria. Really enjoyed it there. And I think part of my experience there is actually what ended up influencing the tech startup EaziCode that I ended up founding with friends. Because I think when I got there, that's when I actually realized that I was learning with some people who had been programming from a very young age, like from primary school, who had access to like computers, internet, and I think maybe had been steered in that direction by the people around them, or had been somebody had been taught programming at their schools. I didn't have that opportunity. So I actually had a lot of catching up to do when I was in university. I remember like, because in high school, fortunately, I'd been someone who would be getting like very good grades, but then first year was really tough.
Yeah.
Like I was getting 50s and 60s in my computer science modules. And
it
it got real. I had a lot of catching up to do. Yeah, but it's something I was passionate in. I remember I would work on weekends. I would just to catch up, and also it's because it's something that I really enjoyed doing. I ended up graduating with a distinction, which was quite amazing.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
But it took a lot of work from my end. And yeah, I think I think it just went to show like what I think if you enjoy something you're passionate about, like how much you can, how far you can actually go with it. But also just seeing the how much easier it was for those who had exposure at a young age. It then actually influenced the decision to then build a tech startup which teaches young people programming, which is EaziCode.
Wow, that's really great. And we're going to touch on EaziCode just now. And, I like what you said about how for you saw that gap about, that there's something clearly missing there, right? So talk us through EaziCode, right? What is it? What do you do? And just give us more information after sort of picking up that gap during your studies. How then did you say, okay, I want to do something about this?
Okay, yeah. So during my studies, I actually had just a few friends. I think that's something we noticed, like that there was I think a difference in how well people would do, depending on how much exposure they'd had to programming, to computer science in like primary school, high school. And then so something I also noticed when I started working, like you just talk to different people and they talk about their vast experiences. And it's also something where like most people who, when they learn programming, like especially at an older age, it's just naturally they usually wish that they started at a much younger age. Like that's what I went through, and I realized how easy it was to actually build websites, to learn from the internet. I was like, I really wish I started doing this at a much younger age. But how the company actually ended up starting is I have a nephew, so it was 2 years ago. He turned 9 years ago. Then I was told by my sister that he solved a Rubik's Cube. Right. And I was so impressed. I was like, wow, that's very impressive. Then something was like, okay, he's ready now. I need to start teaching him programming.
You passed the test.
Yeah, like, no, he's ready. So I started doing like video calls with him, just teaching him programming, and he enjoyed it so much. We had such a great time. We were just learning because he's in Zimbabwean, yeah. So just schedule video calls. And that's when the idea for EaziCode came. I realized, okay, we could actually build an online platform where we can have tutors who can then take young people through like courses to introduce them to programming. And yeah, that's how the idea came about. I then reached out to, I think, 2 close friends I'd had in varsity. One is Tato. He's very passionate about programming. He's also very entrepreneurial. He's written, I think, some poetry books. So he's someone I knew that is someone who, when he puts his mind towards something, gets things done. Same with Tseho. She also very passionate about programming. She's also has a very successful YouTube channel where she talks about tech and other things. So then we reached out to them like, guys, let's see what we can come up with. Let's try solve this problem where they're like, we live in a world which is now very, very digital, which is very driven by technology. But a lot of people only end up getting exposure to programming and computer science like at a much later stage in their lives. Why don't we create a platform which will make it easier for young people to get exposure to programming and just to learn a bit more about what it's about?
Okay, so that's really amazing that you have people on the team who are passionate about what you guys do. And I think, like you said, it's so important. I mean, because I know even with people who are not in computer science, like for example, in research, you do need to learn some programming because, some data analysis, you need to do some R, and oh my goodness, I think any person who's doing any natural sciences, that is like the worst part of like doing, okay, maybe some people like it. Okay, let me not blanket everyone. But I know for me, that is always it's such a scary part because you're like, I don't even know where to start, how to start. And then you have to teach yourself. And it would have been really good if you had that foundational basis in high school or even primary school, so that by the time you get to it, you sort of, because it's like a language on its own, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I've come across many people who share the same sentiment here. Like when you're studying something different, then you have to do a bit of programming, and it becomes such a big barrier to your success because it's something that you won't have encountered before. So we even like with the team, right? We are very like open that our goal is not to make every person a programmer, right? But just to give you that exposure to programming, how it works. It can really then help you in whatever field that you get in, even because the tools that you use, the tools that you need to succeed, most of them are digital tools, most of them are software programs. So the more you know about how software works, the better you'll be positioned to actually excel in using those tools.
Okay, that's great, Ngoni. So wait, so this is not only for kids. So if somebody like me is doing research and they want to learn programming, they can contact you and also get some tutoring lessons?
Yeah, so I think started off with just courses for kids, but we're now branching off to courses for like adults, 12 years and above. We recently launched a web development course, which will teach how to actually make websites. And we also learn programming language JavaScript, which is very popular and also similar to other programming languages that you then use like in research. So I think we are growing beyond just targeting young people.
Oh, fantastic. And just speaking of growing and your growth, you started this 2 years ago. So what is the long-term vision for EaziCode? And in answering that, do you think you have the capacity in the African climate to achieve where you see yourself? Because I think any founder has a vision where they want to be. Fine, it might not happen in 2 days, but they know where they want to go. So what is your vision for your startup?
That's a very good question. I think our overall vision is to make programming accessible to all young people in Africa and beyond. And I know this is a very broad vision, but we would want to make programming education as prevalent as things such as like your geography and history, like, because those are things which are taught, at primary school level, at high school level, because like governments and people in general have realized like how important it is for people to have such skills, even if they don't end up in those industries or taking up careers in those industries. So that's like our overall goal. But that's a very like big goal. Like just generally right now, we're just working on expanding our course selection. I think we started off with 1 course. Now we have 4, and then we've got 2 more courses which we're currently developing. And then we're also moving into actually teaching our courses at schools. Yes, because I think our initial model was just to do these one-on-one online tutoring sessions with students. But earlier this year, we actually found a school where we went and taught our web development course. And that was pretty exciting. So, I think our overall vision is just to make programming accessible to as many people as possible. But our current vision right now, we're just working towards having courses that we're actually teaching in schools.
Okay, so the second part of the question, do you think you have the capacity? Like you said, it's a big vision, and for me, I love big visions because it creates a lot of room to do a lot of things, for errors to find your way in it. So I love your vision, even if it's big. So the follow-up question was that, do you think you have the capacity, because we are Africans and, we have a lot of limitations to people who are in the West or even in Asia, for example, where they are leading in terms of the technological side. So where you want to go, do you think you have that capacity? Or what would you need to have that capacity?
Oh, okay. Capacity-wise, it's you should join our team meetings. I love the team I work with. I think we were just limited by how much like we dream. Hey, so definitely in terms of capacity, we strongly believe we do have the capacity. It might not happen today or tomorrow, and it might not be a vision as which we accomplished by ourselves. The idea of making programming accessible to all young people in Africa and beyond. But we strongly believe that we can really help get Africa to the stage where, programming is talked about the same as like history or geography, your agriculture, as like a subject that people can just learn in schools, something that people can learn like in their free time as a hobby. Then with our short-term goals, we definitely do have the capacity. We are working extensively to try get schools that we can take through our courses. And we're also looking for like any organizations that would want to sponsor a school to actually go through our course. Like the school that we took through our course, we actually sponsored that ourselves. So yeah, we are very open to such partnerships where an organization can sponsor us to actually then take any school of their choosing through our some of our courses.
Oh, fantastic. I believe, you can definitely get there, and it's going to be pretty exciting to watch you and your team, pursue this vision. And like you said, maybe you might not get there by yourself, but I think with the right assistance, sponsorships, or investors or whatever, it's something that's possible. I have another question, right? So this is a question when I was preparing for this interview, and when you're like, you own a tech startup, I was like, oh my goodness, I know this term. Everybody says startups, but I feel like not a lot of people understand what a tech startup is. It's like we've seen about it in movies, like Silicon Valley and in America and in Hollywood or Los Angeles. So can you explain to somebody who, like myself, is like, okay, but what is a tech startup?
Okay. I don't think there's like a hard cut definition on what a tech startup is, but I think I think it's basically I would say a company where your main product that you sell is either tech or its services enabled by tech. And I think there's been growing popularity, or like a lot of tech startups and around the world, because of the growth of the internet and what the internet has allowed. Like now, it's very easy to reach different markets around the world. With the website, for example, even with your podcasts, I'm sure you can reach people in every continent, right? Because of what the internet has enabled. So tech startup, basically, I would say, is just a company whose main product or the service that it offers is enabled by technology.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So I hope somebody else who also didn't quite understand, we're going to use your definition for now of what a tech startup is. And being, a founder or somebody who has a startup or is an entrepreneur or et cetera, when you're trying to build something from the ground up, you are very familiar with success and even more familiar with failing. I'm sure you can definitely relate to this. So I just wanted to ask you before we wrap up, what is your attitude with failures, and how has that helped you grow as an individual and also as an organization?
Okay. Well, I strongly believe that failure is part of the success journey. Hey, as they say, show me someone who has never failed, and I'll show you someone who's never tried anything. I think the key is just to fail forward, when you fail, to realize that this is actually part of the journey. What can I learn from it? How do I get up? How do I do things differently? And I'm sure, like anyone who's successful, they'll have stories that they can share with you about their failures. Obviously, we tend to focus more on our successes, but we actually learn more from our failures. And so I strongly believe failure is part of the success journey. It's just what you do after you fail that really matters.
And that's honestly the truth. But I think in those moments of failing, I don't know, you kind of don't feel you don't feel it. It's kind of like, oh, this place sucks. But I think it's one of those moments where you look back in retrospect, like, oh, okay, this is why it happened. And as we wrap up, thank you so much for sharing your journey. I just wanted to ask just quickly, what are some words of advice that you'd like to impart on us, be it about your life personally or just in terms of anybody who's interested in pursuing a career like yours?
Okay. Well, to go in line with the book, which I'm going to write, but shoot shot.
Yes.
Shoot your shot, you can do it.
Yeah.
I think, well, with STEM, right? I think that's the area I'm more comfortable with. There's a lot that can still be done, like with science. I think you just need to be curious and passionate. And then even more so with the industry that I'm in with programming, you just need to realize that every software, every program that you come across, it just start off as an idea in someone's head. And like with the way the world is now, you just need you don't need a lot to be able to like start something, like especially like in software development, you need very little capital to start. So start where you are, start with what you have. If you have your laptop and an internet connection, you can learn how to be a software engineer. You can build the next WhatsApp, the next Facebook, just with the laptop and internet connection. And even like if you like learn the history of some of the biggest tech companies in the world, it was just someone who was working from their bedroom on their computer with the connection who was able to build products which have become like part of our day-to-day lives. So yeah, I think my advice would be go for it. If you have an idea, don't just throw it away, sit down, actually try to figure out how you can bring it to life. You never know. They like everything that we see just sort of offers someone an idea in someone's head. And yeah, you could be that person who then creates a product which the whole world will end up using and appreciating.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, it all starts with an idea. And that's this everything that you said was honestly such good advice. And thank you for sharing your story, sharing your journey, and just sharing about the amazing work that you and your team are doing with EaziCode. And I wish you all of the best as you do the important work that you do and in just going a step further with your vision.
Oh, thank you very much, Anne.
It is honestly a pleasure. And to everybody else who's tuned in today, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Root of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E. Until next time, goodbye.